breaking the mysterious language barrier with the baby, the benefits of teaching little ones sign language. Plus,
The Not So Perfect Parent, sponsored by the Gladney Center for Adoption, where hope is born.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You finally get the baby down and you just start to drift off to sleep. And then it starts again. The crying, the wailing. What could be wrong? You fed her, bathed her, changed her, and tucked her in complete with her favorite blankie. As frustrating as that is for parents, imagine how hard it is for babies whose only means of communication is crying. So Misty Fellner is here to talk about baby sign language and how it can help both parents and babies communicate. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have to say, I did baby sign language with my kids when they were young, but I kind of started what I would think a little bit late. I started with my oldest when he was 2. But when can you start doing sign language with kids?
You can start pretty much from birth. As soon as you're comfortable holding them and signing at the same time, or if they're in something and you can sign, do it. I started signing with my first at 3 to 6 months, which is kind of when a lot of people start. And so she didn't sign until she was 10 or 11 months old. But my second, I started much earlier, being a second-time parent, and she started signing at 5.5 months, and now at 6 months she has 4 signs already.
Wow. So really, even at birth, that young, you can start demonstrating some of the signs, and it's important to begin that process that early.
Well, you want to start early for 2 reasons. First of all, for the baby, but also because if you're not a native signer, you need a little bit of an adjustment time to get used to signing and incorporating that into your daily life and your activities.
Right,
So
it does take practice. I mean, this is something that you're learning as well as the baby
it's
is learning.
learning a second language.
All right, well, let me ask you, there are a lot of benefits to sign language. And I found that with me in particular, what it helped was it kind of eased a lot of the frustration with regards to my kids. They were able to say what was wrong, so they didn't have to cry to communicate.
Exactly. They don't have to point or cry or grunt. They can actually give you the exact word. You were saying in the beginning about it's in the middle of the night and they're crying, waking up. I've actually heard of babies who signed hot. And when their parents took their temperature, they had a fever and they were sick. And in the middle of the night, that's what's wrong. I've also heard of babies who signed elephant in the middle of the night.
What could that be?
Apparently, it was traffic noise. And to them, it sounded like an elephant, and it was scary. So the mom closed the window, and problem taken care of.
Makes it easier for babies, makes it easier for mom. But I've heard there are some skeptics that think that sign language could potentially delay actual verbal language skills.
Just
is that
the opposite, really. It gives them an early foundation in language. They're forming sentences in sign language before they even start talking, and so they kind of hit the ground running, and when they start to talk, and their language just can take off. So it's actually just the opposite of what most people
Wow.
have
So
said.
their verbal language then gets enhanced. They're able to talk maybe even sooner than some babies. What about other types of learning? I mean, does this sign language help with regards to learning in general?
It does. It will boost their IQ, and part of that is because it lends itself to very sophisticated play. It's a very gestural language. You know, if you go sliding, you mimic that you're sliding down. If you're driving a car, you mimic that you're driving a car. So for an infant or for a toddler, it lends itself to that imaginative, pretending kind of play. I remember my first would get in a cat tunnel and turn it up, and she would pretend it was a shower, and she would sign shower and sign that she was bathing, and she wasn't even 2 years old and she was already doing this. It also helps when they're reading with literacy because they can point to the pictures and tell you exactly what they're seeing, and you can communicate with them a little bit more. My daughter at 18 months would fill in words as we were reading a Dr. Seuss book. She would fill in the blanks as she was reading and was kind of reading the book herself.
That's awesome.
So,
And I would imagine that then would lead to increased self-esteem, too.
It does.
all kind of ties in. Well, we're really excited to hear more about this, and we're going to get an opportunity. So when we come back, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to put this to practice. 3 babies are standing by to learn some basic sign language, so stay with us. We are back with Misty Fellner, an expert in baby sign language, and Misty is here to teach sign language to 3 babies and their moms. Welcome back. This is fun. I'm so excited to have some precious babies here to help us demonstrate.
Thank you.
And it's really interesting because these kids are different ages. We've got a little bitty one, and we've got, what, a 1-year-old over here?
We have an 8-month-old, just over 1 year, and a 2-year-old.
Oh, that's great. So this does demonstrate that you really can start the process pretty early.
You really can.
All right, well, let's get started. Now, show me one of the signs about how, for the 8-month-old.
The 8-month-old signs ball.
Okay. Let's see if he'll do it.
Let's see if he'll do it.
Kids in television are like kids at a wedding. I mean, you never know. There he goes. He did it. He did it. That is so precious. Okay. Now, what about the, what's the little girl's
This
name?
is Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Kate, do you want a cracker?
Oh, can you see that
More.
she's doing
She's
that?
wanting
She
more.
is.
She
She's
wants
doing that.
more.
My boys did that. That was a sign that they were always hungry.
Yeah.
So they were always signing that.
And they can do that for not only just food, but toys and games and whatever
That's great.
they want more of.
That's right. She did such a good job. Okay, now let's go on to the next one.
This is Tommy.
Hi,
He's 2.
Tommy.
And with older kids, you can use sign language to teach them their feelings. Tommy, can you show me angry? Can you show me angry? Or dangerous? Can you show me dangerous?
He is too distracted. He's
He
got too many.
is.
There he goes. What is
Dangerous.
So that's
He's
what is
signing dangerous.
He is. Look at that. And that is great because when they do get to the point where they can start to express their emotions and how they're feeling,
Right.
they can sign it, which makes it a lot easier on mom.
Yes, it's a lot easier. They can sign if they're scared of something. They can tell you that they're angry, and they can tell you if they're sad. You know, they hear things that you don't realize they're hearing because you don't really hear them. You've learned to tune them out, and they hear them or see things, and they can tell you about it. And it's just, that really, really strengthens the bond in the family, and it's just so amazing with babies and children to see what they can learn at such a young age.
And it's so great to finally be able to hear and understand what it is that they need and how they're feeling. It gives you an opportunity to really communicate with your baby at a much younger age than you would otherwise.
It really does.
All right, so I only signed just a few basic signs, and I could have gone a lot further. What can parents do as far as reinforcing the sign language? Because as you said, it's just like practicing anything. It's like riding a bike or anything else. You've got to put it into practice. So what can parents do to help practice with their kids?
Well, to practice with their children, just anything they would do on a daily basis. As you're doing things, you kind of narrate what you're doing. You know, do you want your shirt? You can give choices. Do you want the blue shirt or do you want the green shirt? Just everything you're doing, narrating. You can do songs with them and just repeating what you say. Like with a ball, you could say, when they're looking at the ball, say, do you want the ball? And then as you hand it to them, say, here's the ball. And if they finish playing it with, oh, you're finished with the ball, or you didn't want the ball, things like that. In my class, I teach 300 signs because as many as you know is what they'll learn. You know, I know of children, my own daughter included, her older son, Kate already knows 75, but our 2 children at 2 knew 200 signs.
That is amazing. That is, and I would also imagine, like, what we did sometimes was we used, like, flashcards on those, where you'd have a basic object and then could sign the sign so that the kids can learn it through that way. It's
You can do
reinforcing.
that. It's not the most natural way, but you can do that. I never did that with my daughter, and she still learned 200 signs. Did you ever do that? Did you use flashcards, or did you not?
Okay, maybe it was just me.
Okay.
But again, as you're saying, it's just kind of incorporating it naturally and reinforcing it. All right, but what if you were interested in taking a class? Where would you get some information about that?
Well, I teach classes at the Peppermint Baby Boutique in Richardson, so you can go to their site, peppermint.com, or my own site, signforbaby.com, and there's a registration on there. There's information about getting started. There's even some pictures of some babies signing.
That's wonderful.
So.
Great information. And thank you guys for being here, and thank you, kiddos. Y'all were great. And for more information on baby sign language, you can read my article at wfaa.com/parent. And for parenting questions or for segment ideas, write me at psmith@wfaa.com. Up next, we continue our look into North Park's upcoming fashion at the park. Stay with us.